Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dig into a really crucial but kind of overlooked piece of the EU's landmark AI Act. We're going beyond the big headlines about high-risk AI and looking at something that's just as important, the rulebook for the people who are supposed to be regulating it all. So, to get why this is such a big deal, let's think about it like this. High-risk AI is like a high-stakes game. You absolutely need a referee on the field to make sure everyone's playing fair and nobody gets hurt. But what happens if the referee messes up? What if the referee deserves a red card? Who holds them accountable? Well, that's where this key player comes in, the notified body. These are the official referees in the world of AI. They're independent organizations, and they have the incredibly important job of checking high-risk AI systems to make sure they meet the AI Act's super strict requirements. Basically, without their stamp of approval, that AI system is just not getting on the market in the EU, period. So you can see these referees have a ton of power, which kind of brings us right back to our big question. Who's making sure they're playing by the rules? Well, the answer is tucked away in Article 36 of the AI Act. You can think of this as the official rulebook for the referees. It lays out a clear, harmonized process for the entire EU on how to monitor, investigate, and, if it comes to it, penalize these notified bodies. Now, this rulebook has to do a really delicate balancing act. It's this tightrope walk, you know? On one hand, it has to be super tough to make sure only the most competent and trustworthy organizations are giving out these certifications. But on the other hand, it can't be so rigid, so full of red tape that it just kills the very innovation the EU is trying to champion. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What actually happens when one of these referees is suspected of, dropping the ball or making a really bad call? First off, this whole process doesn't just start on a whim. An investigation only gets triggered if there's what they call sufficient reason. We're talking credible complaints, weird findings from market surveillance, or even whistleblower reports. Then, the authorities have to jump on it, investigating without delay. And this is huge. The notified body gets its day in court, so to speak. They're told what's up and get a chance to respond. Finally, whatever decision is made, it's got to be proportionate to the problem. And what's cool here is that the punishment fits the crime. For a smaller issue, a notified body might just have its activities restricted a bit. For something more serious, they could get a temporary suspension, kind of like a yellow card. But for the biggest failures, their designation can be completely withdrawn. That's the red card. Game over. Okay, so this is where, if you're an AI developer, you're probably holding your breath. I mean, if your certifier gets the boot, are all your product certifications suddenly worthless? Do you have to yank your product off the market? It's a massive question. Luckily, the Act doesn't just leave businesses hanging, there's a safety net. If a certifier is just suspended, the certificates they issued can actually stay valid, but only under some very specific conditions. Either the authorities have to give the all-clear that there's no risk, or the AI provider has to quickly find another qualified notified body to take over monitoring. It's all about business continuity. And what if it's the worst-case scenario, a full withdrawal? Well, even then, the AI Act throws a lifeline. It provides a grace period for all those existing certificates, and that magic number is 9 months. But listen, this 9-month grace period, it's not a free pass. It comes with some serious strings attached. First off, the national authority has to confirm that the AI systems themselves don't pose a risk to anyone. Second, another notified body has to formally agree in writing to take over responsibility. And finally, that new body is on the clock. It has to finish its own full assessment within a year. So how did we get this final rulebook? Well, it wasn't just written up overnight. Oh no, it was basically forged in the fire of a classic legislative tug-of-war. The evolution of this one article is actually pretty fascinating. You had the initial proposal back in 2021 that laid out the basics. Then the EU Council jumped in, wanting to add a ton of really detailed prescriptive rules. But then the EU Parliament pushed back, saying, whoa, let's stick with the original, more flexible approach. So what we have now is a compromise that tried to take the best of both worlds. And this table here just lays it all out perfectly. You can really see the tension. The Parliament wanted things concise, streamlined, and flexible. The Council, on the other hand, was pushing for really detailed procedures, explicit safeguards, and elaborate rules. They were pulling in totally different directions on almost every feature. So what we got in the end is this really smart compromise. It's like they took the sleek, streamlined structure that the Parliament wanted, but they dropped in the heavy-duty safeguards for things like due process and certificate management that the Council insisted on. The whole point was to build a framework that's both powerful and efficient. All right, so we've been deep in the weeds of Article 36, but let's zoom out. Why does this one little article in this massive law matter so much? What's the big picture here? This quote really just nails it. At the end of the day, Article 36 is like a miniature version of the entire AI Act's mission. It's all about that fundamental challenge. How in the world do you encourage incredible, groundbreaking innovation while also making absolutely sure the technology is safe and that we, the public, can trust it? And that leaves us with one final, big question. The rulebook is written, the referees have their instructions. But the game of AI? It's changing, like every single day. The real test, the one we'll be watching for years to come, is whether this rulebook can actually keep up with the game.